The ability to own the frame or to own the conversation is mostly about being able to walk away from that conversation while losing less than the other person. You see, the problem with frame control techniques and skills in the way it is taught in many traditional approaches on the topic is to show you only the techniques or the result of what somebody looks like who masters frame control, like Russell Brand for example, without explaining to you the mindset that goes behind it that makes it possible in the first place. There are some beliefs that allow you to back up any kind of conversational techniques you use to hold the frame with anyone you are speaking to. So we are going to study 5 of those beliefs, 5 examples of what those beliefs can be for somebody who is a master at controlling the frame in any situation, and I would like you to pinpoint in your head, noticing how you usually react, how you usually respond to people that you can't argue with, you can't argue against them because they just have more fluency, more anything than you do, and noticing how you would respond differently if all of the beliefs we are going to talk about here were inherently true. If all of the lies we are going to say in this video were completely true, how would that change your conversation and how would that change the way you interact with any person you have trouble communicating with? The first one is, I have won that interaction anyway. It is just that you don't know it yet. Or it is just that they don't know it yet. The person you are interacting with, if you are in a kind of battle, frame battle, confrontation, verbal conflict, if you knew you had already won that interaction anyway, it is just this person doesn't know it yet. How would that change the way you respond and react emotionally, mentally, physically to that person? I was taught that by one of the boxing teachers I have had long ago. He was explaining that top-level boxers in a competition, they sometimes just walk around like this because they have full confidence, or they try at least to display full confidence. In a boxing game it might be more complicated because you can actually end up hurt, but at least he was explaining that concept of just having the physical behavior exactly as if you had already won. And a lot of what happens inside the ring is mental, is purely psychological. If one of the fighters can convince the opponent through his nonverbal behavior that he has won anyway, not that he's going to win, that he has won. That's a whole lot different of mindset depending on the way you phrase your belief. If you had already won the fight, the game, the whatever, how would you react to that person? How would you interact with that person? Belief number 2, that person is just wounded and trying to get something out of me. Quite common with manipulative people, with narcissists, people like that. If they try to manipulate you, if they try to control you, it is mostly because there is something hurt inside them, something wounded, and they try to manipulate you to cover that, to maybe alleviate the pain, to maybe distance themselves from the pain they feel, because they need a puppet, like you eventually, if they think you can be their victim. When people, just in general, when people try to manipulate you, when people try to impose bad feelings into you, you can just distance yourself by rehearsing the fact that they're just wounded. So let me know, why should you react to somebody who's just wounded? Even if they insult your mother, even if they say anything bad about you, why should you react? They are just wounded, they are just hurt. They need to get healed, they need to recover. Then why should that person have any authority over your feelings if all they are doing is trying to recover? Whole different perspective again. Number 3, I can walk away from any situation because I have much more interesting things to do. Much more important, much more relevant things to do, or also much more interesting people to talk to interact with. If whenever you have a confrontation, somebody who disagrees with you. If you knew deep down, and that is an encouragement to develop a kind of lifestyle where this is true and this is real, if you always had the kind of individuals around you and the kind of interactions or activities that validate the fact that you always have something more interesting to do anyway. In that context, would you really take anything personal? Would you take anything personally, even when somebody is trying to hit you, to trigger you, your feelings, whatever? Would you really react to that person if you naturally knew you always had something more interesting and something more important to do with other friends, with family members, with some colleagues you love talking to? If you always had somebody more interesting to talk to, why would you spend time arguing with that useless person? The one just trying to manipulate you eventually. You can always walk away from a situation. The one who has the least to lose in an interaction is the one who holds the frame. Or should we say, the one who can develop his ability to walk away, the one who can develop his ability to lose less in any interaction will be the one most likely to control and hold the frame more efficiently, because that person doesn't have anything to lose. Same thing in a fight. When I heard police officers taking part in some debates about which martial art is the best one, judo is better, no, karate is better, no, Thai boxing is better, no, taekwondo is better, whatever, some ex-police officer who had been in the battlefield for quite a lot of time said, you know what, the only conclusion I have about who's winning a fight is the one who has the least amount of fear. The one who fears the outcome the least is the one who wins. As basic as that. You can have all the techniques you want, all the miracle like karate, bushido, or whatever. If you're scared during a fight and the other person is not scared at all, you lose in 99% of cases. If in a conversation you know you can walk away and you don't care about the outcome, you win that interaction. You can hold the frame. When you have less to lose, develop that in your lifestyle, in the way you develop your goals, what kind of life do you set for yourself, what kind of relationships do you handle around you. You can develop that context where you have more interesting things to do, and therefore you can hold the frame with anyone trying to make you fit into a box you don't belong to. Number 4 is the one that is a hard pill to swallow for most people I know, and me included. It is anything I get triggered by is something I'm going to solve in the next few days. If I get triggered emotionally, if somebody can make me overreact, that means there is something vulnerable inside me that I have just not solved, that I have not healed, at least not completely. If I can pinpoint what that was, what this thing was that got me triggered, what this thing was that the person was able to use to make me overreact, what this was, and how can I heal, if it is something hurt inside me, how can I heal that, or how can I get past that wound, that insecurity maybe, how can I get past this? It becomes my outcome. If I have been triggered, if I got triggered by something or somebody, then my outcome becomes to solve that inner issue from inside, on my own. The person doesn't need to know anything about this. The person who made me react doesn't need to know anything about why I was triggered. I will solve that on my own. It becomes my outcome. I take responsibility for my feelings. In that way, anytime somebody gets the edge over you in a conversation, can control the frame over you, then you know there is just something more to learn about yourself. This is a new opportunity to learn about yourself. And finally, number 5, which is kind of a summary of all of the other ones. I have a great life no matter how this conversation ends, and no matter what that person say or doesn't say. I have a great life no matter how this conversation is going to end. Even if I end up beaten up, even if I end up losing the argument, whatever, I still have a great life. And if that is not true, if that is right now not true and your life is resumed to the little micro debates you have on the internet with the stupid kids who have nothing else to do with their life, maybe question yourself. Why do you spend so much time arguing with idiots? Like, what's the point? What do you get out of it, I mean? Even if you win the arguments you complain about, what will you win? That was a great concept that made me distance myself from a whole lot of fucking toxic people in my life. It is, okay, let's say I succeed in convincing that person who's fucking annoying, always complaining. Let's say I succeed in convincing that person that the problem comes from them, that whatever I want to convince them about. Let's say I succeed. How will that change my life? Will that even change anything about myself, about my life? If the answer is no, if even me convincing that shitty person doesn't change anything about my life, then why exactly am I arguing with that person? What do I have to gain out of that interaction? Why should I prove anything? If that person is not even interested to hear anything I have to say that can be positive for him or for her, then why exactly am I trying to convince anything? To persuade about anything? Why? What would I gain out of this? Maybe I would just get better by leaving that situation and finding more interesting people to interact with. And that is a whole lifestyle design. It is more complicated. It is still a better, healthier outcome in my opinion than constantly arguing with debilitating idiots who just will find another person to complain to once you're gone. So make a choice, develop better relationships, and if you want to develop that through your communication skills, you can download my small PDF down below called The 7 Steps to Master Sleight of Mouth. It is a free, accessible resource that you can use from today to develop more meaningful conversations whenever you need to have the edge in a discussion, or when you want to build better relationships, I would say, even with people that matter. How can you solve conflicts in a healthy way with them? This document is down below if you want to check it, be my guest. In any case, thank you for watching, always a pleasure to have you here, and see you soon in the next video. Goodbye.